You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 215. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. Today, I have a special friend who is a guest. Her name is Sagit Schwartz. I was introduced to Sagit through my good friend, Lee Stein, when I asked her, what should I be doing on TikTok when it comes to my book? And she said, you need to go follow Sagit. She has taken TikTok by storm with her book, which is coming out next week, called Since She's Been Gone. I was lucky enough to read an advanced copy, and in all honesty, it was a suspenseful thriller. And at first I thought, that's really not my cup of tea, because how am I going to read a suspenseful thriller before going to bed? I'm definitely going to have nightmares. But friends, no, I didn't have nightmares. It was so good. I could not put it down. It has twists and turns, and I felt like I was there. It is phenomenal. So I am excited to introduce you to Sagit and to hear all about her book, Since She's Been Gone, how she came to writing it, what her journey all along the way has looked like. And congratulations, Sagit, on your upcoming novel, Since She's Been Gone. Hello, Sagit. How are you?
Good. Lovely to be with you today.
Oh, I am so excited. Although we're not going to have any voices left since we've already been talking for 45 minutes before we hit record. Can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Sure. My name is Sagit. It's a tricky one for publishing purposes. And I'm a licensed psychotherapist, formerly practicing, and a debut author with a thriller to be released February 2nd, titled Since She's Been Gone.
It is so stinking good, too.
Thank you.
I loved it. And this is probably the third thriller this year that I've read, because I'm not a quote unquote thriller reader. And now that I'm reading what are considered thrillers, I'm like, oh, these are good. And I need to read them more.
They're addictive.
Because I feel like thriller is more like axe murders. Like I think of thriller movies. And to
Yeah.
me, reading a thriller book is very different than what you would think of as a thriller movie, which I wouldn't be into, versus what you've written that I was totally into.
The genre is vast. I mean, the spectrum is horror, mysteries, cozies, psychological thrillers. It's so vast, and it's not just one lane. So I feel like there's something for every reader. People who don't like gruesome tales, they can read cozies. People that just want edge of your seat suspense can read those types of books. People that want happy endings, there's those thrillers. So it really varies. It varies. I love the genre. It's my preferred genre to read, to watch. And so that's why I write it.
So how did you come up with the book, the idea for the book? Let's talk about what goes on in the book. We won't give any spoilers away.
Sure. The book is about a psychologist who's in recovery from an eating disorder that learns the mom she lost 25 years before might still be alive and keeping dangerous secrets. I'm not giving anything away by saying this because it literally happens in the first 2 pages. But she goes to work one day to meet a new patient, a supposedly new patient. And it's actually a woman who has showed up to tell her that her mother, who had died decades before, is still alive and in danger, and that she needs to find her. And that sets her off on a heart-pounding journey through the whole book to unravel the mystery of what really happened to her mom. There is also a mental health component, because when she was a 15-year-old teenager and her mother supposedly passed in this hit and run, she developed a life-threatening eating disorder for which she went to residential treatment center. And the book is dual timeline, alternating in the past when she was 15, fighting this disorder, in the present when she's trying to find her mom, and the eating disorder kind of bubbles up again.
It's amazing. And I know that I wrote to you in the middle of reading the book that I wish I had the education when I was younger about eating disorders, because I did have friends, I do have friends from childhood who went through eating disorders. We refer to it as ED. And I know I did get I got a comment on that one from a client who thought I was talking about something else.
Yes. Yes. Ed. Ed.
Yeah, Ed, yes.
Ed.
And you give insight as to what goes on in someone's brain that's suffering from ed. And it was a complete education for me, and eye-opening of what someone is going through internally as they're suffering.
I've received that feedback from several readers who have read early digital advanced reader copies. And actually, one of the most moving messages I got was from a mom whose daughter is slowly in recovery from an eating disorder, who contacted me and said, "Thank you so much for writing this. I now have a better understanding of what my daughter is dealing with and what she's up against." So, as a licensed clinician, I wrote it partially for educational purposes. I should also add that eating disorders, although they affect 10% of the population, they've been largely left out of adult contemporary fiction. And this book was not an easy sell. My editor had to go to bat for me in the publishing house, and she even had people there who, were reluctant to read it. I don't know if it's because historically it's been glamorized in the media or just not handled well. And I really set out to write an unvarnished portrayal of what it is, because it's not glamorous. It's life threatening. And it really impacts every aspect of a person's life. So I did also write it for psychoeducational purposes. And then, of course, because I love thrillers so much and mysteries, I wanted to make it a page turner. And I've had many readers contact me, said they couldn't put it down. They read it in one sitting. They had to know what happened. And so both of those compliments are wonderful, because that means I succeeded, in the mystery capacity and in the psychoeducational capacity.
How did you make that change from being, a licensed clinician to, I'm going to write this thriller novel? Because it's quite different.
Well, I actually also was working. I worked in as a therapist for a long time, and then wanted to start writing professionally, and worked in Hollywood for a while. And then the pandemic happened and my family left LA. We moved about an hour south, and I decided to work on a book instead, where you have more control. And now with everything that's going on in Hollywood, it's very unstable. So I just have more control over what I'm writing as a novelist. But I mean, I still write scripts. I just actually adapted a short story that I wrote. It's like a thrillerish horror short story that I wrote on the Reddit No Sleep forum. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's
No.
got close to 20 million subscribers. It's free. And it's for, horror lovers. And I wrote a short story that went viral on TikTok after an influencer with 6 million followers, who puts on makeup as she narrates these horror stories, contacted me and asked if she could narrate it. So then it went viral. And then a producer that I worked with in the past was like, this would make a really good movie. So I actually adapted it for film. The script is written and he's ready to go out with it, but there are strikes going on right now. So hopefully that will happen after.
That is so amazing. I
Yeah,
love this.
I don't know if you link things to your interviews, but
We do. Yeah. It'll be
you
in
could
the show
link the
notes. Yeah.
Reddit No Sleep short story. The script is much more. It's 90 pages. The short story is like 2,000 words.
This is awesome. I absolutely love this. And you mentioned TikTok.
Yeah, that was my entry point to TikTok.
That's a really big entry point to
Yeah,
TikTok.
it was shocking to me. This is a woman in her 20s that narrates these short stories, and she's got 6 million followers, and she tagged me. I started a TikTok account because I was like, I need to be on TikTok if I'm, this is happening. And she tagged me, and then all these people started coming to my page, and she has a very young her following is very young. And I was flabbergasted at the power of the platform. There's so many eyeballs on it. And when I got my book deal, I decided I had to make a choice because I didn't really have a social media following. And I said, where am I going to put my energy? And I decided TikTok because I had heard it was a growth platform and Instagram's more of a nurture platform for, like, if you have an existing following. And I was like, well, I need to grow. So I went on TikTok, and I love it because this is going to sound strange, but I'm old and nobody I know really is on there. And so they don't know what I'm doing, and I make a fool of myself, and I'm not going to get like a text from my uncle saying, what are you doing? You know?
First of all, you're not old. But I
Yeah,
was thinking the
that's okay.
same thing last night. I was like, "Ah, I just want to tweet this out." And then I went, oh no, I can't tweet it because then this person will see it. And I can't put this on Instagram. Oh, and I can't put it here because I know somebody, and I need an alias or some platform where nobody knows me.
It's TikTok. It's TikTok, but that could change though, because the viewership and the subscribers and the people on TikTok, like everyone's getting on there now. So I'm like, oh, but still, for the most part, I think you know our generation tends to not love it. Uh, But it's changing though. People are going on it more and more. So
Well, and I found, in talking to Lee Stein about this too, because I'm like, when I get an idea in my head and I want to just do a TikTok video, I look in the mirror and I'm like, wow, you should not like document this moment. And yet when I do, I still get 800 views. And she goes, oh yeah, people love it when you just show up as yourself. I'm like, well, then you
absolutely.
are in luck, world.
No, Lee is right. It's all about like authenticity and just, I mean, you want good lighting, like but not like glamour or whatever. Just, you could just be you. So
I wish I came up with the idea of like, let me narrate thriller stories while I put on my makeup, but that would mean that I need to put
honestly,
makeup on.
it, honestly, she is so talented, and what she does is so beyond my pay grade. It's really hard what she does. Like, I'm like, how does she memorize these stories and do all this intricate
Oh, she
makeup?
memorized them? She doesn't like read them?
No, no, she
Oh,
memorizes
wow.
them and recites them as she's doing unbelievably elaborate makeup. But sometimes it's like, it's not just glamour makeup, it's actual transformative into different people and creatures and animals and all kinds of things. So
Wow.
it really, she's supremely talented. It's
That's
wild.
amazing.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write since she's been gone? We haven't even mentioned the title of the book. You do know that, right? We're
Oh,
12 minutes in.
I
We
think I
haven't
did
mentioned
mention
it.
it at the beginning when I
Did you?
said
Okay, because I
Lake
don't
Louise
remember.
Wood.
I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't
I did
remember us
say it.
mentioning it. How
I
long did it
did.
take you to write it?
About a year. About a year. And it started out one way, and then because it's a dual timeline thriller, as I mentioned earlier, when I first started it, it was not a dual timeline thriller. It was
Mm.
only in the present tense. And then about, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 chapters in, I was meant, like, half of my chapters were about the past.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, this isn't really working to just spend half a chapter talking about the past. I'm going to try writing this as a dual timeline thriller. So then I separated the two storylines out, and I wrote one storyline all the way through from the past, and then one story all the way through in the present. And then alternated the chapters and had to, finesse things. But yeah.
Did you know to do this? Like, what is your writing experience or knowledge or education, because this is all fresh and new for me, because there's a part of me that's like, oh, you just sit down, you write the book, and then you're done.
That will thriller because I consume so many thrillers and read so many mysteries. A lot of them are dual timeline, and in fact, my publisher is Crooked Lane, and they are distributed by Penguin Random House. And when they did the presentation for spring 2024 titles, of which mine is included, they were really excited about the dual timeline because apparently, and I did not know this when I wrote it, that was not in my head, they are dual timeline thrillers are selling very well now. And I've also had several readers, actually influencers on TikTok, say that's what made the story for them, the backstory combined
Yeah.
with the present. And it's ironic because that, that's what made it a hard sell, but it's also, the whole eating disorders, the past, what happened to her when she was 15, but readers are really gravitating towards it. And that's why it's like there's a saying in Hollywood, nobody knows anything.
That's not just Hollywood.
Yeah, maybe that's for life, but it's like, if my editor hadn't gone to bat for me and said, no, like, there are certain mental health representation when it comes to depression, anxiety, addiction that we've done really well on, but eating disorders have not really been a topic covered well in adult contemporary fiction. If she hadn't gone to bat for me and fought for it, it might not have ever been traditionally published. So, and readers are responding to that. So it's really interesting. You just have to write the story you want to write, because if you are trying to play to the marketplace or it's not the most visceral parts of anything you write are going to be what you want to write. That's what will jump off the page for the reader, not is this going to work well when I submit it to a publisher? Is this,
Do you feel that being a therapist in your career helped, not just in the way you spoke about eating disorders and the other parts of the book that I want to talk about too, but do you think that helped in selling it, that there was research and knowledge and your formal education to back up what you said within the book to make the facts?
I think that probably would have helped more if it was nonfiction, because you want to be an expert on the topic. With
Right.
fiction, it's more really about the story, but I don't think I could have written those parts as well if I didn't have a clinical background.
Yeah, because I mean, I could go out and write it, but yet I wouldn't have all of the terminology. I wouldn't
Right,
know all of these things unless I went and I did my research, but this is literally like your life, your career.
right, right.
So I feel like that had to have been a leg up in selling it too, of like, no, you don't have to go research these and
Yeah,
fact check me,
right.
on
Yeah,
this. It's really what it is.
yeah,
And a big part of it too is the opioid crisis,
yeah.
which was totally fascinating. I don't know, how did you come up with this research and including this as well?
Well, that was just, that's been so much in the culture these last years. These families, the Sackler family, and like what's happened. Sackler, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but I mean, those stories have been hard to miss. And just, it's been devastating. I mean, how many people have lost loved ones? And so I also thought it would be an interesting parallel in my book. I don't want to give it away, but there was like kind of a parallel between one person dealing with that and then another person dealing with an ed that I think worked well for the book, and the
Yeah,
mystery of it, the mystery too.
I loved it. I was totally hooked. And if I had time to read it in one sitting, I would have finished it in one sitting, but I read it quite quickly.
Thank you. Oh, and I will add, because you asked me, like, why did I specifically want to write that book? When I sadly lost my mom when I was young, and she was 47 years old. And when I turned 47, I really wanted to write a book that would somehow immortalize her and pay tribute to her and be inspired by her. And so she is deeply woven into this book. The letters she wrote me when I was a child are included in the book. The eulogy in the book was like 75% her eulogy. Um, the name of the mom in the book is Irene. That was my mom's middle name. She's very much in the book. And then I sold the book when I turned 48, and that is a year and a milestone that she never made. And so and now I am 48, and I really feel like I'm living this year for both of us.
Oh, I love that. You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, and I'm honoring her, and you know, I'm not going to give away what happens in the book, but people have written me, told me that, and you did too, that it's moved them to tears. But it's a very lived in story, because in many ways it's my story.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And now you remind, I told you before we recorded that it's been a little while since I read the book. But as you talk, I'm remembering, I just got the end in my head and I'm like, oh, I'm going to cry
Yeah.
because the end was just so good. Oh my gosh. Tearing up.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
thing the video is not released.
Well, it is a moving story, and I'm also proud that I wrote like a thriller that has that level of depth. Don't get me wrong, I love the candy thrillers, and my next thriller is going to probably be very, very light and different than this one, and just like a fun twisty story, like my Reddit No Sleep short story. But this thriller has a lot of depth. It's not just a piece of candy to consume and then you forget about it the next
Yeah.
day. It's a story that will stay with you.
Yeah. It has many layers to it. And there's just, it feels like it's a road and we're going down so many different paths, when we're going backwards and forwards and present. And yeah, it's incredible. A total fangirl
Thank
here.
you. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
So what are you writing next? You already writing another thriller?
Well, I've written a couple chapters, and I may, it's not for certain, I may adapt this short story that went viral on TikTok into a book. It's because it's already now, okay, this short story exists. It went viral on TikTok, and there's 3 parts to it in the TikTok narration. The film has been written, and now this would be like complete the whole thing. But I have a feeling, I don't know if it would be a full book or more like a novella. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But that's kind of where my head is in terms of, and I've written the first couple chapters if it were a book.
Do you get sick of people asking you? Because I feel like once you've written a book and people know it's coming out, they're like, what are you writing next? It's just like when you get engaged and they're like, when's the wedding? And you get married and they're like, when are the babies? And you're like, oh, let me just calm it down, everybody. Or are
Well,
you like, yeah, let me go?
no, it's funny because like in my day-to-day life, like nobody writes. Like I have a lot of writer friends and this, but in my family and in my like day-to-day existence, it's such a like strange and the amazing feat to just have one book, that it's more like, oh my god, the cover, oh my god, was it so it's just, I don't even think people would think to ask of the next, because they're just like, it's so bizarre that I even wrote one book. For real. So in that sense, the pressure is off. I mean, perhaps if I was surrounded by a bunch of, you know, book uh, lovers and this, but like, it's just like, wow, that's like my neighbors. They're like, oh my God, how did you do that? Like, it's just so foreign. I guess that's what I'm
My
saying.
neighbors are the same way. We're like the youngest couple on the entire court. And when I posted on Facebook, like, oh, I got a book deal, or oh, this happened, there's the cutest little retired couple. They're in their 80s, and
We have a celebrity on the court we didn't know.
Right. They're not asking about your next book.
No, because they don't even know what we do at home. They're like, you two don't even work, do you? You just sit at home. You bring the kids to school and you sit at home, both of you
Oh
all
my
day. I'm like,
God.
yes, we just sit at home all day
Oh
long.
my God. Oh my God. That it's so I haven't felt that pressure. Yet. I mean, it's coming probably because my book's going to be out in less than 5 months. And then, my publisher has right of first refusal for the next book. There's
Right.
contractually. So, like, things have to happen. But in terms of my day to day life, and it's just not, you know, uh, the deal. And I live with a teenager, and, she's in her own world. Like, I had my makeup done when I went to go get my author photos. It was the first time in my life I had to get my makeup done. She's like, I want to get my makeup done. I'm like, okay, go sell a book. Like, so, there isn't like this huge curiosity there about all of this,
That's hilarious. What did your day-to-day life look like when you were writing the book? Did you have like scheduled set time, goals? What was that like?
I was going really to the same cafe as much as I could, apart from appointments, this, that, every day, and writing there. I pinned actually to my Instagram page, there's a picture of one of the workers dressed in a Squid Game Halloween costume. That was during the period where I was writing it. And from that, in so that really was my ritual going there. And I've thought about it, I'm like, for the next book, I don't know that I can go there anymore. It's like I need
Interesting.
to change the location. I could go there occasionally, but I don't think I will write my whole next thing there because I so associate it with the experience I had of writing my book. And my book is very heartfelt, and I remember bringing my mom's letters in a bag that I hadn't looked at in 25 years, and like reading them there and crying and being moved. And it's just too much of a association with the other books. I'm going to have to change it up.
Did they know you were writing a book at the time?
Yes. Yes, they did. Yes,
Oh.
they did. And now, yeah, and then now they ask me, they're like, wait, so when's it coming out? And because I mean, I don't go there now to write. I sometimes just go to get a coffee or whatever and leave. So,
You need to have a party there.
yeah, yeah. It's a tiny little, like, I mean, it's a postage stamp. It's not like in a strip mall. It's tiny. Yeah.
I love that though. Mine was right here at the desk. That was
Okay.
it.
I find it hard. I was just talking to a friend to write at home unless I need two screens, like my monitor with my computer,
Mm,
because a lot of writing is that. But if I don't, I find it hard to write at home. There's always like distractions. There's always a call to make, and the dog, and then you hear, outside leaf blowers, and it's just,
yeah.
I find it more challenging. So it's easier for me to get out and get things done.
I replayed Harry Styles and Jeremy Renner on repeat, so I know every song by
Really?
heart. And that way it wasn't a distraction of like, here's a new song. Wait, what are they saying? I'm like, nope, I can sing it and write at the same time.
And I can't listen to music while I write. I don't have that ability. My husband and daughter both can. They listen to music when they're working, but I can't do it. My brain, the processing, I'm not able to.
Yeah. So funny.
Everyone's different. Yeah.
That's why I love asking that question. It's been
Yeah.
everything from like, oh, I lit a candle and I went downstairs and I did this, or, I was in the garden. I'm like, no, right here,
Yeah.
buckle down.
Right. Right.
Can you share with everyone where they can find you, find your book, all the good
Sure.
stuff?
So on TikTok, my handle is at Sagit Writer, Sagit Writer. On Instagram, it's at Sagit Schwartz, SagitSchwartz. And you might be wondering why it's different. It wasn't different. They both started out at Sagit Schwartz, but the problem was I was popping up on my teenage daughter's friends' TikTok feeds with the last name Schwartz, and that is not something a teenager wants to deal with. So I changed it to Sagit Writer. And now I'm not in that space anymore with those. Yeah.
But doesn't she know how cool you are? Like, you're on TikTok.
A parent on TikTok is not a cool thing for a teenager in any way, shape, or form. No. Okay. My website is sagitschwartz.com, and my book, Since She's Been Gone, is available for pre-order everywhere. Amazon, Target, Walmart, you name it. If you type in Since She's Been Gone book, you can buy it wherever you want, pre-order it, which is fantastic.
And the book is fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, you definitely need to go out and purchase Since She's Been Gone, so that way next week you can start reading it and fall in love with this book as I did. Sagit is just such a sweet, sweet, kind person, and her writing is phenomenal. I can't gush more over this book. I enjoyed it so much. And to me, it just goes to show that the writing community is so incredible. The people who are writing books are cheering each other on. They're just amazing. And to be able to call her friend, it really touches me. We've exchanged text messages, so we are officially friends. We're not like DM friends. We've upgraded. I want you to think that if suspense, thriller is not your normal genre that you pick up, like myself, be open to it, because you never know what is going to be between the front cover and the back cover that is going to keep your attention and make you fall in love with a genre that you really had no idea was even possible. So be open to it and go read this incredible book. As a reminder, we are just a month away from How to Get on Podcasts coming out. So please make sure you pre-order your book today, and you will get access to the companion course, How to Get on Podcasts, by emailing me your receipt. As always, friends, read a book, share that book, and get to know the author, because they're human beings like you and I, and they have a story themselves to share, one that goes above and beyond the book that you're reading.